Welcome back to our ongoing mixing series where we're mixing a song all the way from the very beginning to a finished mix, moving along step by step to get to that finish line. And in this video, we're going to continue with the heavy lifting, doing all of the processing and moving forward from where we left off. Hey yo, it's Alex from Metamind Music, and as always with this channel, it's my mission to help you, the artist, produce themselves by developing their mindset, expanding their creativity, and connecting to their music in a deeper way. And with that said, let's go ahead and transition back to the DAW and continue from where we left off. So far we've done everything. We've organized our session, we've set up our routing, we got a rough balance, and we've processed the bass, drums, and the guitars. If you haven't been following along with these videos so far, I recommend you start from the beginning and then catch up to where we are now. And in this video, we're going to continue with our processing and moving through all of the tracks until we get through them all. So in this video, we're going to look at the keys, maybe the synths and the strings, and get those melodic instruments all sounding great with the foundation we've set with the bass, drums, and guitar. So let's go ahead and listen to what we have so far with all our elements. So we got a taste and go from there. Awesome, sounding good. So let's zoom in to what's going on these tracks over here, the keys, and continue looking at every track. So we have this whirly track, which kind of brings in the second verse. It's kind of the main instrument, and it goes towards the chorus. So this whirly track is kind of this melodic key sound that brings us into the solo from the second verse. It's kind of the main feature of the verse. So let's give a listen to what this sounds like with the other elements. And for now, I'm going to turn off our synths and our strings and just listen to this and the keys. So that's what it sounds like. Let's listen to it with the other elements. So first off, the volume can come down. So I've turned it down quite a bit because I feel like this is a feature of the part, but all of the melodic instruments and melodic layers are going to kind of live inside of the kick and the drums and the bass. So I really want the volume to go down and expand the space. So you'll notice that right away, I already have an EQ on here taking out the low end once again that we don't need. So let's A/B this EQ while soloing it and listen to the difference. So this is with it off. With it on, with the other elements. This frequency was masking a lot of stuff. I might actually play around with a saturator on here. So let's go ahead and pop on a saturator just to add a little bit more harmonics and character. And maybe, yeah, let's keep it to analog clip, add a little bit of drive. So it kind of brings it out of the mix, kind of adds that brightness without having to affect the volume. So we're going to keep that. It might actually boost some of the mids. Also, what I think we're going to do is add some of the reverb, Valhalla Supermassive. So again, I'm just going to switch views and we're going to increase the send to A and bring in some of the effect and see how that sounds. Let's see how this sounds. Let's bring down the volume of it. I might actually make this low cut more steep, so you can actually select this option, which makes a more dramatic cutoff. I just want to make sure there's no bass of the sound overlapping with our bass. Sounding good. Let's move on to our next track, which is this kind of ambient dirty Rhodes. So let's listen to what it sounds like. So again, the first thing I'm going to reach for is our trusty EQ8. And if you can guess what we're going to do at this point, yes, we're going to cut out all the low end we don't need. And we're actually going to cut out that extremely high end stuff that we might not need as well. Might make this more steep. I can hear that there's like a mid-range frequency, low mids. Right here. It's a little strong, so I'm going to cut this, lower the Q. Let's listen to this with everything else in the intro. So those notes, na na, but like way higher octaves beyond what I can sing. It's so subtle, but that's the effect I wanted with this track. It's just like this haunting kind of harmony that I heard before we put this track in. So I like where this is sitting, but let's listen to it in the verse when this is louder. Let's listen to it when the guitar comes in. So I like the volume in the second half, but the first half, I think I'm going to lower the volume of this, especially since we have all these other elements. So I'm just going to highlight this section again, and I'm going to lower the volume. Maybe. I want it to be so subtle. It's like this haunting presence that's just giving a little bit extra pizzazz. And now let's listen to this other section where it comes back. Let's automate the volume up here so we can hear it a little bit better. That's so creepy by itself. If we listen to the reverb effect and just the keys together. It's giving us kind of this like mosaic of harmonics just kind of melding together, and that's kind of the effect I wanted. So let's listen to it all together. Awesome. I'm liking how that's sounding, and let's go ahead and move on to the next thing in our group, which is the arpeggio during the solo. So this is what it sounds like. So there's some cool automation going on there, and this is happening during guitar solo. So let's listen to what's going on. Again, I think I'm going to change this to be more steep and cut out the low end to make sure this is not competing with our bass. So I'm liking where it's sitting because it's kind of behind the guitars. I might take out a little bit of the high end and lower the volume. I just want to make sure that it's there. It's like an interesting layer, but the guitar solo is the main focus. So let's play around with that. Cool, so that's sounding good to me. Let's move on to our synths here. So we have our main synth motif here that we're going to bring back in. So let's turn on this group and let's listen to it in the intro. So right away, I'm probably going to reach for an EQ. We're going to cut out the low end that we don't need. Let's go to the verse when everything is playing. So let's A-B just this low end cut. So again, this is showing the importance of getting your low end super tight. Just doing low cuts on all sorts of synths and pads and things that have low end that you don't need in your mix makes such a difference. So this is with it off. And then let's turn it on. Listen to the kick and snare. It's kind of buried. Gets more room. Cool, so I'm really happy with where that's sitting. However, I think the volume can come up a tiny bit. So I want to pay special attention to the keys, the guitars, and the synth playing at the same time. Might need to automate the volume of this section up because it's competing with the guitar quite a bit. So what I might do as well with this synth layer is play around with saturation. So sometimes if you can't get where you need to with EQ, it can be a good idea to play around with some more harmonic stuff, such as a saturator. So let's pop this on there and let's maybe try, let's stay with analog clip, add some drive. So notice how it's adding some harmonics and allowing the synth to kind of poke out around the guitar. Listen to it over here. So we're adding a bunch of volume, so I'm going to turn it down. Listen to it over here. That's sounding pretty good. Might have to play around with it a little bit more later. Let's go over here. Again, the volume might have to come up here. So there's a lot of competition going on between the guitars and the synth layer. One thing we could play around with as well is playing with the panning of the guitar and the main synth just for this section when everything's playing together to give more room to that main synth, this one. So let's try that. So over here, we're going to pan this actually for the whole time. Let's go here, select it, automation mode, go to the panning, and we're going to move it towards the left around there. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select this, hit the panning, and we're going to move this to the right, about the same. And we're going to listen now to these two together, the synth and the guitar panned opposite directions. Gives us a little bit more room, and let's bring this in the middle. So that helps a lot to distinguish everything. So let's bring everything else together in the mix. Get out of automation mode. I might bring up the volume of this synth a little bit more. All right, so this synth is sounding pretty good. We have these synth harmonies that happen in the verses, so let's listen to these. So I already have some EQ and some compression going on for these things. So I'm actually going to group these so we can A/B them together. So this is with them off. Notice how dark they are. Put them on. Right? A lot more harmonics, a lot more high end. So what we're doing is we're actually cutting a bit of 8K, but we're boosting quite a bit, 6 dB at around 3K. And we're taking out a bunch of 500 hertz and a bunch of low end, right? And again, we're filtering out everything below 200. This is the same thing as our other EQ, just without the graph. And let's A/B just the EQ. So this is without it. Let's bring it in. It's a lot more bright. And then we compress this, just so we can hear the tail of that reverb and the harmonics a lot more clear. So without it, with it on. So notice how much more present all of those harmonics and all that reverb tail comes up with that compressor. So let's bring it into the mix and listen to with everything. Again, it's a subtle layer. This is not meant to be front and center. It's just adding another texture on top of everything. So I just gave these a little boost around the 1K so they can sit there, and that's kind of where they want to sit in the mix, to my ears anyway. Let's go over here. So I might actually automate the level of this group up during this section. Again, I might boost this up, the volume of this whole section of the group up a tiny little bit, not much, half a dB. Ooh, I love how these sound, these harmonies, and this tripped out guitar. And this. I might lower the volume of this layer. So it's there, but super subtle. So those are meshing well together. They kind of cascade together. Let's move on to this other synth chord that's happening during the solo. So let's listen to it here. It has a cool automated effect. So let's listen to that in context of the solo and everything else. So right away, it's got to come up. So I actually kind of want it to live in this low end. We just got to make sure for it not to take over our bass and our drums. So let's add another node. It's fine. It's sounding better. Let's listen to the chords just with that ARP. See what I mean of having those chords slightly below? So those sound good together, and let's bring in that guitar solo. I might bring up the volume a little bit, the guitar solo. Good, it's given an OCD mind enough to pay attention to, but the solo is still on top. So finally, let's move on to these strings and see what they're doing. So again, I'm going to put an EQ on here, cut out any low end because we do not need it. We are good. And let's bring up the volume. Propulsion into that chorus, and then we have a huge crescendo in the outro here. That sounds awesome. That's all sounding like a wall of sound, which was the intention. And hey, if you're just getting started with music production and feeling completely overwhelmed by the process, or if you've been at this for a while, but you're having trouble finishing projects, or if you just want to get a glimpse inside my personal workflow and the workflow I teach, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that helps you go from your very first ideas all the way to a finished mix and master. And it's super handy to have around the studio as a printout. So if you're interested in grabbing that, you can find it in the description box below. If you got value out of this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to stay in tune for the next MetaMind Music transmission, where we're going to continue to mix this track all the way to the finish line, hit that subscribe button. And with that said, we've completed all the processing for all the tracks on this mix. And we're going to move on in the next video to some in-depth automation to breathe some more life into this mix. So if you're stoked for that, I'll see you in the next video.